I've gotten to see a lot more of the human side of the people that I work with and interact with.
Work is still relationships with people.
By working remote, my team and my leadership has given me a lot of trust.
Being fully remote now has brought a greater appreciation for the things in life that I cherish the most.
Working remotely has allowed me to prioritize my friends and family, the people who actually matter to me. Like, I love my coworkers, they're great, but I connect to them through work. They don't feed me in a way that my actual friends or my closer friends and my partner do.
I've seen a lot of changes in my daughter, and I've seen her literally mature from 5 to 6 years old, and the difference is just staggering. If I was going to the office every day, I would have gotten little glimpses of that every night, and that's kind of like missing the entire thread, if you will, of her development that is typically reserved for teachers. So I do, in a sense, feel very lucky to have had that.
It's been, that's been a blessing here of being remote, being able to just watch my daughter grow every day. I get to see her walk for the first time. I got to see her crawl for the first time. Like, if I wasn't here during those times, then I think I would be pretty not upset, but like I would have missed those moments of my daughter, those milestones in her life, saying her first word and eating the certain foods that we didn't think she would eat. Right? All those things are very special to me. So I've been able to witness that being here at home.
I have a family. I have 3 small children, and I have a husband who's a first responder. And so sometimes the family life doesn't give you as much flexibility as you would like. So having a job that you're passionate about and that feeds that part of your soul, but also lends to a family life that feels generous to your family and doesn't make you feel guilty, that is really the golden nugget. You want to be able to love the work you do and also love your personal life and feel like you are able to serve both.
Traditional on-site work doesn't allow you to choose who you want to spend your time with, right? HR decides who you're going to spend your days with, whereas in remote work, you get to choose who you want to spend your time with, and hopefully that's your family and friends, and that really helps people just in their overall well-being.
Yeah, relationships is an interesting question. I think the default assumption is that it can't be done or it's necessarily hard to do. I think you have to make time for it and make space for it.
I try to emphasize or kind of like encourage and advocate for as much kind of like human contact as possible at work. So you will find me asking for one-on-ones with people to just talk and hang out. I have that at least once a month with everybody in my team, if not 2 or 3 or even weekly.
So that really helps give that person more than just a background of like, they're just a product manager or they're just an engineer, right? They're actually an actual person. They have a lot more to them than just their career.
We're seeing people in their home environments and their natural environments. And so we're seeing people have kids. They're having to deal with other things that are happening or parents that are sick, right? And so everyone's kind of in a different scenario. And I think in some ways, what's been nice is it feels like there's a little bit more compassion, that we're all kind of coming from different circumstances and you don't know what people are dealing with.
Making it as personal as possible, and not talking about work all the time to connect to that human is very important.
I think I was working here for about 3 or 4 months before I actually got to like meet anybody face to face. And so other than a couple small team meetings, over Zoom or something like that, some one-on-ones, like most of the team I had never interacted with only in like a chat style forum, in Slack or Twist or email or something. And it's amazing how you can form just subconscious perceptions about what somebody's personality is like based on how they behave digitally. And so I was amazed when I came to meet people in real life, how so many of the people that I perceived as very loud extroverts because they felt very comfortable in the digital world were the opposite, total introverts in person, and vice versa.
I consider myself an introvert, but then again, I'm so comfortable now with a camera that I could sound like an extrovert. But then again, take this camera away from me, put us in a one-on-one where we're talking, I will be sweating, shy, and being like uncomfortable.
Because of the type of communication that's required in remote work, we as a demographic of virtual professionals really communicate in a way that is much more transparent and much more vulnerable and much more concise than we used to do in the office. And that really carries over into our relationships. So we tend to be much more proactive, much more clear, much more empathetic in our personal relationships. And because of that, marriages can be stronger because we're easily communicating our needs and considering our partners with more empathy. We are more attentive and physically present for our kids. We understand how to connect with people without being in the same room. And so it's more common for virtual professionals to be more emotionally available and connected to their friends and loved ones regardless of proximity, because they understand how to nurture relationships without proximity to each other.
You see generations of families that haven't been able to rise up through social classes, that are very much, my family is this way and there's no way out. And I see this small window. I think remote work, it's life-changing.
If a parent understands it, then they can kind of guide their children to jobs that are conducive to remote work. And so a lot of times if they want to get a job in this certain field, we need to consider how, is that a knowledge industry? Of course, we need farmers and ranchers. But if everyone in the community just works for the power plant or works for the coal plant, that's typically the mindset of the next generation. And if you have less and less opportunities, you're going to continue to see this negative net migration, this brain drain of our kids who see no future here, and they'll leave. A lot of young people, they move to urban Utah or urban centers to make more money to live their dream, and then they realize they can't afford to live there. Well, when your job becomes portable, all of a sudden you have opportunities. You can afford a home. You can afford a great life in your rural community.
What does it mean for me to work from home? Who am I when I'm working from home? When I'm not on my daily commute and I'm not doing all kind of my regular routine things. And, there's been this series of sort of self-realizations as I've adjusted to working from home, both for who I am as a designer and as a creative, who I am as a leader and a team member at Adobe, and who I am as a father as well.
Again, the human side of remote work also in that, where not just the avatar or a little pixel on your MacBook or on your screen, there's actually a human with a family behind that.
Remote work can be just a label, but it can take a whole new meaning for people that usually thought about remote work being this binary of being at the office or being somewhere else. Now it's so much more than that because of the external factors that influence how we work remotely.
I think remote work makes it seem like you just have to be on 24/7 because you live at your office. But I think you have to remember that you don't live at your office. You work in your home.